Facebook doesn't like my remix and copyright struck me and shut me down. So we're gonna do our best not to let that happen again. Um, Again, like I said, um, I am just trying to do a tutorial breakdown for my remix. Somebody in the chat, if there's anybody out there, please let me know if the audio is good. Like if I should turn up the microphone or anything like that. I don't know if it sounds okay. I think I might be able to like add um, a filter to it or something. I think I can like okay, so I put the gain on. I don't know if I can add like a. I wonder if there's like a pop filter that I could add. See, I don't know. I don't know if my audio is good because I don't know anything about how to do this. I'm already psyching myself out. God, I suck at this. It's cool. It'll get easier. At least I'm trying. There's no way I just got kicked off. I did get kicked off, yep. Um, I don't even know if I'm actually live right now. I think I am. Okay, I am. Mic sounds okay? Oh, no. Shit, okay. I don't know if my audio is good because I don't know anything about how to do this. Alright, cool. There we go. There we go. Brendan, sick. Okay, the mic sounds good. Play the music. Okay. Alright, so I'm just gonna try to do like a basic breakdown tutorial of this, and like I can probably like record a voiceover for like the intro, and then just get right into the tutorial or whatever. Walk me through this, Brendan. What do you think would be the best thing to start with? Like, just like, or should I just kind of just go? I've never done a tutorial breakdown video before. As long as the audio is good. If the audio is good right now, then I'm cool with that. By the way, don't make fun of these glasses. They're they're for blue light, and they're not for fashion or to look cool. They're just for blue light and to reduce eye strain on my eyes. Okay, so all right. We're just gonna get right into this breakdown the way that I think it should be done, and I think that if anyone out there is interested in how I made this remix or interested in how to produce music in Ableton, I think the first thing that you should be able to learn how to do is write a drum loop. And so what I start with on every single track that I write, I will tell you this right now. I always, always, always start with a kick. I normally do my kicks in MIDI with a drum rack, but for this project, I actually decided to write my drums all in audio. And I don't believe that I used one single bit of MIDI. This hat group here doesn't even have anything on it at all. So the first thing that you're going to want to learn is how to write a drum loop. Now what I can do is break this drum loop down for you. I will grab these drums, boom, copy, paste. So you're always going to start with your kick. I grab the snares. Whoops. Let me grab my kicks. All right, so first thing I started with was this kick here. And if you want to hear what this sounded like before I processed it, I'll turn off the EQ. Literally all I did to this kick was EQ it because it's a mastered kick. It came from the stems in a project file, so it was already a good kick. I liked the character of it, so I decided to keep it. Now if I turn this EQ8 off and give you the full kick, it sounds like this, and I will actually let it ride with. So this is what this kick sounds like. Very big and very boomy and very crazy. So I just tightened it, and then I threw an EQ on it. So now it's more of a floor muff, and it's more so giving a pulse to the track. Now by doing this though, I effectively removed the transient, I effectively removed all of the high-end character, so I had to bring that character back in with a click, And the click that I added sounds like this. And so this click sample is actually a Mr. Bill perk, and I'll show you how it sounds with no processing and turned up. Sounds like this. Boop, 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 boop. So in my mind, I just felt like that had a really nice character. And together, these things sounded like this. Let's get rid of these kicks and grab the kicks the way that there should be. So now we've got a little bit of mid content, and we still needed even more mid and high content, so I added another click. This is the character that I added to this kick. Now we've got a good kick drum. So we've got all of our lows coming from our main kick because, again, like I said, we effectively took it from... Don't worry about all that. The other stems. EQ removed all of that character, but I really wanted to keep the boominess of this kick, so I had to bring these layers in. The next thing I add in my drums is always going to be hi-hats or snares, one of the two. In this situation, the funny thing is I actually added hi-hats first. Where is the hi-hat that I originally chose first? That's going to be... There it is. This, my friends, is the hi-hat that we used. Just a really nice, simple little hi-hat. Oh no, that's our beatbox. That's our beatbox snare. That's the first snare we chose. That's the second thing that I was going to come up say anyway. Let me turn off whatever all of this is, dude. All of that's gotta go. It would have worked just the same if I decided to use the snare first. Because writing drums like this, you're always going to have your kicks on the ones and the twos. See here, we've got the 33, the 133 right here. This is our one. All right, so our 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our kicks are always landing on the twos and the fours, and our snares are always landing on the twos and fours. Well, the kicks are landing on the ones, twos, threes, and fours. That's what a 4 on the floor pattern is. I may actually have done the snare first. So the hi-hat came after. Let me find it. I can actually find it anywhere. Oh, here I even added another layer for the kick. Another click. Totally different click. And so this is our hat. This is what I was supposed to copy over last time. But this is fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So with no processing, all I did with this hat, literally all I did with this hat was add a little bit of reverb and EQ, more reverb, and then some delay. So if I turn this off, all of this processing, actually let me group it all. And turn it off. Turn all these back on. And then we can turn them off together. Alright, so this hat, oh shit. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and turn these off. And this is where our hat started. So the first thing I did with this hat was add some reverb. Let me turn off all of these one by one. So the first thing I started with was some reverb. That's a really loud hat. It's like super crazy and like way too much. So I EQ'd it to just make it really subtle. As you know, we like that subtle hi-hat sound. We added a little bit more reverb, which made it a little bit louder as well. And then we added some delay. So now it's got a little bit of swing to it. Just a very little bit of delay. So again, we went from here to here. And all together, that's going to sound like this. Nice little house drum groove. Next thing I did, I grabbed myself a MIDI track. I'll actually break this down just like this. So I'll drag in a new MIDI track. We're going to make a brand new MIDI clip. And just for the sake of saving time, I'm going to grab the chords that I wrote and I'm going to drag them over so you can hear these chords that I wrote. And the first thing I started with was actually these Rhodes keys. So we're going to group all of this together. We're going to copy this instrument rack. We're going to drag it into our new MIDI track. These are the chords that I wrote. With no processing. So these are like pretty loud and have like a lot going on. I had to sidechain them to the drums. First off, I added some auto pan because I wanted to add some movement. So if you hear it without the auto pan and then with the auto pan, immediately this auto pan basically brought it so much movement. So no auto pan, straight note. But if I add this auto pan, it kind of gives it a little bit of a wobble. I like that sound, so I brought in the OTT. Just bring it out more. I EQ'd out all of the lows, added some reverb and a utility, and called it a day. At this point, I was actually going to trash the entire idea. I didn't know if I wanted to go in the house direction with this, and I didn't know if I actually wanted to stay here. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll grab a piano. And that's what I did. I grabbed a regular old grand piano, and I wrote these chords right here. And these chords are just complementing these chords. Now, if you look at these chords, I'll break these down a little bit. These are for the Rhodes. These are just a couple triads, and then like a couple suspended notes, more triads. Basically all triads, right? And so now if I go to the grand piano, it gets a little more interesting because we've got some doubles, and then some more little... inquisitive so plan to go back and like revise these chords and make them sound even better. Like there's a few notes in here that I would nitpick on, but I settled for it because I just thought it was pretty, and it felt like these notes, when played along with the Rhodes, just sounded really inquisitive. So after I made that, I knew that I needed something to keep everything pulsing. And that's when I grabbed this sample from the stems of the track. And with no processing, it sounds definitely way different. I don't think I'll be able to like go and show you it without processing. It'd be kind of hard. I mean, I could maybe reset the warp markers, but it was on a halftime pattern, so it didn't necessarily go along with a 4 on the floor rhythm. So I had to kind of just warp everything so it was all in time and all that, and obviously give it a fairly heavy side chain to make it pulse with these drums. And this is the layer that I added. Like that sound, and then I added the Rhodes next to it and the piano. So next layer that I added, just to give it a little bit more, I wanted every hit to have a little bit more of an accent. So I grabbed a serum and I ended up bringing in this synth that I thought was really nice. It's not doing a whole lot. And this is what it sounds like with no processing. Or auto pan. This is just a Serum native preset too. This isn't even. This is just the crushed pluck and Ableton stock Serum presets. Added some OTT to it. EQ, because everything in this track is EQ'd and bandpassed like this. Basically every element in this track is bandpassed in this manner, just to make everything kind of sound like it's underwater and revolving around like the drums pulsing and the piano just being pretty. So I added some reverb, a lot of reverb, like a lot of reverb. Because then it just adds, you can barely tell that it's happening, but it adds just that extra little bit of oomph that I wanted. After this, I knew that it was time to start doing some vocal chopping, so I decided to start with the chorus. I felt like the chorus was going to be the hardest thing to get lined up, and it definitely was. So this is actually the verse. I started right here with this chorus. Boom. So I still actually have a few issues with the job I did warping these. I actually noticed that I couldn't seem to get these vocals to warp on time with these drums perfectly, and it really bothered me. And then this is where it got interesting, because this group here wouldn't line up with these drums perfectly, and I didn't know how to actually get these warped on time to sound right with these drums. And they're close, they're so close, so I couldn't figure out how, and I ended up duplicating this group altogether to make this group, which is absolutely identical in every way, aside from the fact that right over here you'll see that I delayed this track by 33.33 milliseconds. And what this 33.3 milliseconds did, I can show you by dragging this over. And what it really did is fill these vocals out so much. Let me play this for you without this second group. Sound bad, but I can just tell that the vocals aren't hitting right where I want them to hit, so I wanted them to be a little bit more washed out, and so that's why I added the second layer. That just kind of really filled out the vocals for me. I thought that that sounded as good as I was currently capable of getting it. In a year from now, I probably would have done way better. And that was what ended up becoming our first drop. And the only thing that changed about this drop here was adding some open hi-hats, which are these guys. And that's just this guy. Very nice, very nice, very nice. And like I said, that's what ended up becoming our first groove. I even decided to take it a little step farther though, and I grabbed a ghost snare. I grabbed a little snare that I'd wanted to exist in the track, but only be there to provide more groove. And that ghost snare sounds like this. So you hear it's kind of giving it a little bit of a Moomba kind of bounce. Yeah, I thought that was a nice little embellishment to add. I just thought that it provided a little bit more groove, and I like that. I like groove. We like groove. We like things to be groovy. We like things to feel bouncy. And then I'll kind of break down what I did with that same ghost snare idea, is I ended up making it a little bit more fun for these second two drops. And that ended up sounding like this. Same ghost snare. And I'll show you this ghost snare right now, actually. And I'll show you all the processing that I did to it. This snare started off like this. Turn off all this processing real quick. This was our snare. So we added a little bit of reverb. Just to give it a little bit more of a tail. Really short decay time. Only 21 on the dry wet knob. We added the EQ8 just to remove all the lows from it. Didn't do anything with the highs and just pulled a few things out of the 245 hertz range. You can already hear now that just with those two things, we got a lot more character out of that. So I added a little bit more reverb because I really like that character. Frequency shifter because I wanted it to be hitting at a lower pitch. More reverb. Yes, we did 3 reverbs. Don't at me. And then we by the good grace of one of my favorite humans, he goes by the alias Blinks. He told me to make this rack. He said, grab a utility, group it, and then make a chain with 2 utilities and put the width at 140 to bring stereo width to this snare. And that just made it a little bit wider. Because what happened when I did all this was kind of take away some of the side content. And then I added a little bit of saturation just to make it a little bit louder. And a little bit warmer. Boom. There, we got a little bit groovy with a little bit of a ghost snare. And I thought that was a nice little touch because it's a snare that's there, but it's not really there. That makes sense. Obviously, the next thing after building this drop and building this groove here was figuring out where I wanted it, which was, basically here and here. And then obviously the culmination of the song happens all during the more groove and outro section. But I knew that the logical next step was to work with the vocals and get the verses in there now, because we hadn't done anything with our verse 1 or verse 2. There is a verse 3 that I didn't end up including in my remix, but I just didn't feel like I wanted it.
I met a boy who...
Oh, let me turn off all these vocals because these aren't supposed to be here.
I met a boy who was so beautiful.
Now I still, even right now, I am not totally happy with the way that these vocals are sitting. These warp markers, this was really, really tough to line up, for sure. And I normally don't have that hard of a time with warping vocals, but these were probably the hardest vocals I've ever warped, simply because in the original track, she's singing on a halftime, 1 and 3 pattern, and we did a 4 on the floor pattern. And so just it posed a good challenge, and I think I did an okay job. I was definitely happy overall, though nitpicky on the fact that some of these things just didn't seem to... I thought that lining this up here was going to work, and then that just, it was rushing. And then the sweet spot was somewhere in this area, and I settled for right here. It could have been maybe like right here or right here. I'm not sure. But the 3 was too soon. So it was just very strange getting these vocals warped correctly. And they ended up...
I met a boy, he was so beautiful. I knew he was the one for me. Started with joy, you know, the usual. Got drunk and said, come home with me. He was living for the dark, bought me roses and took my heart. He was living for his heart, such a poet in the way he talked. But he don't, no he don't, no he don't, no he don't, but he don't.
Somewhere in my brain, I heard this groove, and I wanted it, so I took a chance on it, and I just took no he don't. And that's all I took. And I think I took a couple but he don'ts as well. And I really wanted this groove, so I got it. I took it, and and that just sounds like this, all by itself. And there's a lot of processing on this, oddly enough. If I turn off all this processing and play it, oh, it's going to sound bad. Oh, it's going to sound bad. Oh, it's gonna sound bad. I promise. Ah. Ah. I'm trying to group all these. Hello? Okay, that's not gonna work.
No he don't.
See how loud that is?
No he don't. No he don't. No he don't. No he don't. But he don't. No he don't.
Yeah, that just changed the whole way through.
No he don't. 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 But he don't. But he don't. No he don't.
I had a lot of fun making that groove. With just no he don'ts. And then obviously we had to bring it right back into the second verse after that groove.
I saw him kiss somebody else, so he said I'm the only one. I couldn't fight those pretty lies as long as he would stay with me. He was living for the dark, bought me roses and took my heart. He was living for his heart, such a poet in the way he talked.
This is the big moment where you drop the drums. It's always scary as a music producer, I think, to drop your drums. Especially when you put a lot of work into your drums and you like your drums. To find a section in your song where you want to drop your drums out completely. It's definitely scary, because why would you want to take something out completely that you know you like very much and sounds very good? I just thought that there was a calling for a moment in the song where all the drums dropped out and it sounded as if there was just a choir of Winona Oaks singing "He Don't Love Me" to each other or something. And we also added in this little low layer of atmospherics. A little bit of chipmunky dirt. If anybody knows me or how I produce, I like to put a layer of dirt behind almost everything. And this was my layer of dirt. Also added this layer, which is more pitched. Brought in that second ghost there. So for this section, all I did was the exact same thing that I did here. So right after the verse, when she says, no, he don't, and I did this.
No, he don't.
Just did the same thing, but I did it to this layer here. So if I play it like this. That ends up sounding like this. So there's that. That was it. There's a couple cool little fun things like these perks that we added. I love these perks actually. I think they sound really random. These perks are actually running through the entire first section. You don't really hear them. They're just kind of there to, again, provide a little bit more swing, a little bit more groove.
I met a boy, he was so beautiful. I knew he was the one for me. Started the usual, got drunk and said come. He was living for the.
They just had a nice little bit of swinging groove, and I decided to leave those in for bring them back in for this outro, just because like it was already a familiar sound to your ears, even though your ears didn't know it. And then on top of those, I added these fun little hats. If you want to hear how these things sounded with no processing, so before sidechaining, reverb, phaser, and erosion, which is all I chose to put on this, it sounded like this. I brought some erosion in because I really needed some high frequency content coming out of these. And just this erosion really brought out a totally different sound. That's without, and here's with. I wanted it to have more depth, so I added a phaser. I really like that sound, so I put some reverb on it. And I sidechained it. A little fun stuff like snare layers that just added more character to our snare. Just little fun layers, all with the intention of just trying to thicken every noise up in unison, and make every noise just that little bit much more interesting, even though every noise is very simple. Another fun thing I did was I actually grabbed a box of saltine crackers on stream, and I shook them. Actually, I might have deleted that layer from the project altogether, but I did do that and try. I ended up settling for some MIDI shakers. These sounded like this before processing. Very boring shakers. Some reverb, a bit of delay, echo, shifter, utility. That's what turned those into the shakers that I chose to use. With no processing. With processing.
He would stay with me. He was living for the dark. Bought me roses and took my heart. He was leaving.
Other than that, that's basically everything, y'all. There's another couple little fun things like the effects, which you may or may not be interested in checking out. And they're really just like little noises that just kind of like swell in. These are all just for adding atmospheric properties to the journey, you know? That was a fun one. I really liked this one. This one was really crazy. This one scared me, actually. A little bit of creepy vocals in the beginning. Awesome, dude. Thanks for the tutorial. As I'm only familiar with FL Studio, not Ableton, it was cool to see how you work it all, and I hope I get to work with Ableton someday and get decent with it. Stay golden, man. I could get longer, but I can't keep my eyes open anymore. Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely, man. Hey, if you're already good in FL Studio, everything is very similar, if not the same, in every single DAW. It's just presented to you in a slightly different aesthetic with different like all the parameters are pretty much the same, though the way that the parameters are presented to you are going to be different across different DAWs. I just love Ableton purely for the workflow and purely for just how I mean, you can see how pretty it is. It's just gorgeous. It's super pretty. But yeah, that is the tutorial for this video. I now have to go and chop out all the bits that I don't want and try to turn this into like there's no reason this should be a two-parter, right? just make this a one-off and just kind of go get the best bits and chop this up into like a 10-minute video. Maybe like 11 or 12 or something. Not more than that. I don't think it needs to be any more than that. Definitely not more than 15 if depending on if I can fit everything under, as long as it's under 15. Does that sound about good? I think I'll probably try to, I'm going to shoot for 11 minutes, 11 seconds. Or 11 minutes, 12 seconds. Either one, I don't care. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I really appreciate you guys being interested in seeing my workflow. And yeah. Did I do a good job on this tutorial? Do you think it's gonna be okay? The audio was decent? Like, the tutorial's over, so I can just kind of candidly chat now. Like, was that okay? I should totally make it 11 minutes, 11 seconds. Yeah, I totally should. I feel like this is good content that there will be people who will want and like will appreciate that I made and eventually like, you know, it could be a thing. I'm kind of excited. Mic sounded good. You could hear me and the music clear. Good. Sick. Bet. Dude, I'm getting the Shure SM7B tomorrow, dude. So my mic is gonna sound hella good. Like it doesn't sound bad, I know that, but like, dude, my microphone is A40s on the desk. Look at this shit. So humble beginnings, humble beginnings. Tomorrow we get the Shure SM7B, and yeah, dude, it's gonna be fucking baller. The content's gonna sound great, and then I'll get the camera working soon too. For now, we're dealing with this dog shit webcam, but it's okay. It happens. Either way, I love you. I'm gonna sign off here and get to video editing. Love you.